Aha. Well, it's Monday. As advertised, I'm starting at noon rather than 10. Had an appointment this morning. I'm back, so I get a couple of hours of maybe, if I don't procrastinate too terribly much, I might get a couple hours of painting in. Continuing to work on these barbarians. Okay. And they're kind of a blue theme here. And I'm going to be today painting little bags. I'm going to paint those just dark gray. The hilts of the swords are going to be black. I'm going to fill in all the rest of their leather armor with azure, which doesn't seem very barbarian-y at all. But what I hope to accomplish is that when I put some wash on it, I'm using a dark gray wash, that it will tone down all of these non-barbarian-y colors, leaving the base color kind of intact, but otherwise making them look a little more like they should. But we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to be I think I'm going to do the pouches first, because then I can paint the azure up to them. At some point, I need to do the sword blades and the buckles on the belts and the pouches. I'm going to do that in probably like steel or chainmail. Maybe I'll use chainmail silver. I have to find that. I didn't pull it out. And yeah, we're going to get to it here. Do painting stuff. Start with dark gray on the pouches. So I will do a flip. You just stir this up. So thanks for bearing with me. I'm going to flip this eyedropper or whatever. This is a very big one. Good. I've been bumping into things, knocking stuff over, just having a grand old time, bumping into things and knocking things over, and bumping into things and knocking things over all morning this morning. It's just that kind of day. You'd think it was a Monday or something. Okay, I'm going to put on my head magnifiers because they really do help me see things up close. And yeah, I'm going to be painting these little pouches and stuff on these both of these figures. And I can see that, yeah, there's a bunch of little metallic stuff that's going to have to be done. Both on the pouches, and metallic banding on the scabbards. That you've had a relaxing day so far. I know we missed relaxing 2 hours of relaxing painting. I'm hoping you were able to relax without the painting prompt. So here I am with Monday afternoon. It's not even Monday morning anymore. Doing some relaxing painting. Got my head all big, magnified already. Doing these like pouches and things. And hopefully my hand will hold steady enough for this to work. It's always just a little bit of shakiness when I first start painting. And let's see that. This is, there we are, that's it. I have to find the target on here. The target is there, okay? Yeah, target for the location of that which I am painting. On camera. Try and get as much light on there as I can. Okay. This little horn thing, whatever it is, in that pouch are now dark gray. See if that's still the corner of the pouch there. I'll be painting these little metal highlights in the scabbard and the clip on the pouch and the belt buckles. We'll be doing those in a dark metallic color later. Paint the sword blade the same color when I get around to it. There's always this temptation to do like too many colors on these things. You know, like every little bit of it needs to be a different color. These aren't display pieces. These are probably just going to be, I don't know, like brigands on the road as we, in our D&D campaign, as we go from one place to another. They'll probably just pop out. There's 4 of us in our group, so there's, I don't know, I may end up painting yet more of these guys. So there, you know, it's not just 2. Of course, if there's just 2, this is what will happen. Okay, if you've been watching our campaign at all. Really, you've been slipping on things too? At least it's non-flammable. You know, that's really true. It might be my fault. If I had only been on time today, instead of doing this other appointment thing, you would have been relaxed. And you might not have slipped. I might have been the cause of your injury. You probably would have ended up suing me, wouldn't you? And it's like, if only Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons had been on time, this fall wouldn't have happened. Your failure to begin painting at what was the normally appointed hour when I was anticipating relaxing in the presence of Relaxing Painting, I was unable to relax, and so therefore was tense. I'm doing this lawyer thing here, and therefore was inordinately tense as I was traversing this non-flammable oil. It turned out to be quite slippery, but I know that if I had been relaxed, I would have been able to cross it without incident as it was. However, in my not relaxed state, I did trip and slip. Slipped and then tripped. I don't know why these figures they're always carrying something on their belts, you know? It's not like they could just go around with bare belts or something, no. You always have to have pouches or bags or sometimes unidentifiable things when they're dangling from their belts. And then their belts, of course, have to make contact with the scabbard. And not just the scabbard, but also the hilt of the sword. So there has to be a conflux of 3 different colors with tiny little spots. Fine for the days of just putting base coats on sewer tiles. We just got a new supply of primer and some thinner. But probably sometime next week, the walls of the sewers will be primed, and then I'll just slap a bunch of gray paint on them. Guess that looks okay. So the pouches are painted. What should I do next? I can't put the metallic highlights on because the paint is still... Really? Is it really going to be that kind of day? I filled the wash. Okay. I have to get my brush cleaner water, which I managed to leave in the other room. Yes, here I am, relaxing painting. Okay. Yeah, so what have I got? I've got the metallics. I have to find that. Chainmail. I've got all this azure, which looks kind of purpley, but that's it. Yeah, you could have burned. If it had been flammable, that could have been quite a disaster. So slipping in oil is bad. Spent most of my morning bumping into things. I didn't break anything yet. I had limited my breaking of things to Saturday. I broke a thing that maybe I can get fixed or maybe not. Okay. This one is going to be easier to paint the base coat on than this one, because this one has just lots of boundaries with hands and pieces of other armor, knees, and then in the back here, the back part is attached by straps, and those have to be painted. So, yeah, this looks like a kind of a pain in the butt kind of thing to do, so might as well get to it, huh? So speaking of relaxing painting, just as a reminder, Wednesday is going to continue to be... Let's see, I don't have one of those little mixing balls in this one, I guess. I'm just kind of putting these in as I use the paint, which is not going to be very good because what's going to happen is then I won't know which ones have them in and which ones don't. And when I decide to put them in all the rest of them, well, some just might end up with 2. I guess that's what could happen. Which is not an altogether bad thing. But someday I need to come down and spend, I don't know, a half hour just putting little metal mixing balls in little Viejo plastic bottles, because it really does make a difference. Thank you for the suggestion. But it does make a difference in terms of stirring the paint, especially with the washes, where there's a lot of solvent and very little pigment, and the pigment settles. Okay, well, do this. I'm going to paint the edges, and I'm going to pull out a smaller brush here to maybe some of the larger areas I'll be able to fill in rather than using the tiny little detailing brush. I'm not sure. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, so we start at the top and work our way down. Oops, still on camera. Yeah. As I'm putting this on, I'm very sincerely hoping that careful and judicious application of the dark gray wash, doing a lot of shading, which I'm not very good at, but I'll have to be to make this thing work. Here, I need to take that phone call. Just hang on a minute. I'm going to put you on. No, not this one. I was expecting an important call, and that is definitely not it. That's a junk call, and we've been trying to get on the don't call list now forever. They say we can't do that, and it's yes, you can, you must. That's the legal thing to do, is to put us on the don't call list. Don't be requested. But the people on the other side of it are following their script, and that's not on their script. Anyway, we keep getting this junk call, despite our efforts to make it stop. That's what that was. But there is a call that I need to take, which is why I've got the phone here. I usually don't do that. This time I need to. So if the call comes from the place that I need to answer, I'll be fairly abruptly putting you on break. Apologize for that in advance, in anticipation of that possibly happening before we finish at 2-ish today. I'm going to have to move this camera just a little bit this way and down, because I need to hold this pretty steady in the small focus area that I've got. resisting the urge to get into my ongoing, never-ending complaint. People who design these things have great attention to detail, but very little attention to what it might take to actually paint that detail. At least for people with a skill of 1.6 out of 3. I used to be a pretty solid, like 2.3, 2.4 in terms of my 1 to 3 skill level for modeling. But then, anyway, age has affected the eyesight and the steadiness of the hand. This is relaxing painting, so I don't curse. I don't curse the designer. But I do go, this could be a lot easier if these two parts didn't touch. You know, that kind of thing. A lot easier in the hand. Still. As I'm holding this, there's actually a requirement for 2 hands to hold still, not just one. This is one of those straps that holds it on. Getting it off camera there. Yeah, not too bad. Okay, I'm gonna have to, I thought I was getting the edge pretty well, but it looks like I went over the edge here. So I'm going to have to get out the turquoise paint. I think that was turquoise. I'm sure I used turquoise. Yeah, and touch that up because it doesn't look right at all. Especially in comparison to the rest of the belt. But there is always that. There's always some little touch-up. And I probably will wait to do that touch-up until after I do the metallic part. Because the metal has to go onto the buckles. The buckles are really tiny. And oftentimes I'm able to get them pretty well. But not always. In which case, then I need to repaint them with the blue. In this case, turquoise. It seemed to be doing the same there. Well, there. In that case, it doesn't look too bad. It looks all right. Somehow I managed to touch that with the wrong color. Got the side of the brush up there. Just touched it just wrong. Okay, well, this whole section here looks like it's going to be needing some reconstruction. That's the nice thing about paint, especially paint that covers fairly well, is that if necessary, one can just keep recoating until it is as it should be. So I got some paint under the arm there, and it looks like I went a little too far there. Just around the edges. It was hard to see where the edge of the armor was. So I got it in the place I didn't want it. Say that there will need to be some refinement of that section of armor. Let's see how we can do it this little bit across the top. Okay, it wasn't too bad. I think I used light blue on that. It will be important to remember the color when it comes time for touch-up, so that the touch-up color is in fact the same color as the color it was originally. Doing pretty well there, but managed to touch it too far onto the hand. Need some touching up. Basically, we're going to have to be using all our colors all over again for the purpose of touching up. Little bit of armor there is held on by straps. Couldn't decide if this ridge was part of the armor that was attached later or whether it was part of the shirt. Well, I've made it part of the armor piece. And we'll see if I can do the same to the one on the other arm. This barbarian, this part of the barbarian, is turning out to be a little bit challenging. If I knew it would be. Okay, well, you can certainly see that it's azure blue. And I can see where the touch-up needs to be. Let's see, there's this little piece. Of course there is. This is going to require some retouching. A little bit of the undershirt armor is showing here. That'll be okay. This paint is leveling nicely. It's drying nice and flat, so it should take the wash pretty well when the time comes to do that. Probably finish painting the outside of this. I got all the edges, but I didn't get Okay, now let's paint up pouch and the scabbard here. Squeezed out a little too much paint. Now it's starting to it's gumming up in the palette and on the brush. Too far up on the pouch. I wasn't quite sure, but looking at it from the other direction, it's pretty clear. There too, so this is clean this. So those are splayed out and paint scummed up on it. Yeah, so there's a fair amount of touch-up work in the back here. What was there to talk about as I am attempting to get the fine points of this armor painted without having to create too much touch-up? We did the Super Chicken, we did Tom Terrific. Classics like Rocky and Bullwinkle and Boris Badenov, who are definitely not Russian agents. Good talk about Gidney and Floyd. Have you looked up Gidney and Floyd, those of you who are denizens of the internet? They were the two moon men who came to Earth. The secret ingredient to their rocket fuel came from the mooseberry bush. And I'm trying to recall. I might get this wrong, so you'll have to look it up and correct me if I'm wrong. But the mooseberry bush would only be found in Bullwinkle's hometown, Frostbite Falls, Minnesota. Apparently, Jay Ward had no compunction, potentially insulting Minnesotans in the 1960s. I don't know. Maybe people from Minnesota didn't mind being, typified as being from the far north tundra and having a place called Frostbite Falls. Mm-hmm. Maybe people in Minnesota back in the 1960s were just extremely tolerant that way. Maybe they had a great self-deprecating sense of humor. I don't know. Not having actually chatted with people from Minnesota back then. So, if anybody knows that, if there was any offense taken, it's a source of pride of being the home of Bullwinkle J. Moose, or Bullwinkle. Oh, did Bullwinkle have a middle initial? Let's digress about that for a minute. I don't recall that either. But Gidney and Floyd came from the moon, and their rocket fuel, if I recall correctly, required the fruit, I think, from the mooseberry bush, which grew in Frostbite Falls, Minnesota. I didn't know it at the time, and I think this is actually true. that mooseberry itself was sort of a joke because moose droppings, moose poop, comes in these kind of semi-spheroidal, maybe not quite egg-shaped, not quite spheres. They're kind of elongated spheres. I'm not sure what that might be called in geometric terms. Anyway, that's how moose droppings come. And I think they are actually... Okay. I was losing track of what paint was going where. I think they are known colloquially as mooseberries. So for those of you who are in the demographic that likes poop jokes, I know some people think that they're really great, and others don't. I won't judge. I'm just going to say that some people will find it funny and some people won't. But those of you who do find it funny, the mooseberry bush was poop joke. Yep. There it was, right there on the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. And I'm not sure that everybody knew that. I know that when I was young, I didn't know about mooseberries, so I didn't get the joke. That is the very persistent, please put us on your don't call list. And they just refuse to do that, and I just keep calling. There are no doubt people sitting in a room whose very existence is dependent upon them being able to get people to pick up that call and do whatever it is that they're asking. We had actually gotten it to stop for a little while. Resumed, and it's now resuming with some level of persistence. I need to rotate it in many different directions because there are no doubt parts that aren't getting painted. Okay. Hammer. Clean the brushes, and then what I'll do is I'm going to then paint this color onto the other figure because I'm just doing them both in the same color scheme. And then we'll be doing touch-up. And I need to do touch-up with the light blue and with the dark gray and with the flesh and the turquoise. And so it looks like I'll be doing touch-up in 4 of the 6 colors that I've used so far. And it's a pretty good ratio there. Just looking around, checking to see. Bitty brush. There. It here. There, the shirt color. There's some flesh color touch up. It was just really almost invisible, very hard to see. And then I got over it too far. Okay, well, this one looks, other than the touching up spots, there's just very hither and yon all around it. There's a spot there. See the scabbard was and where it wasn't. I went a tiny bit too far, but definitely hadn't gone far enough with the blue before. But I'll be using the turquoise paint. Okay, so let's wash these brushes. What are we doing on time here? No, not even an hour. I'm actually getting stuff done today. Feels kind of weird compared to Submarine Wednesday when I worked really, really hard and got nothing done. Or even Friday, when it seemed like I was painting a good long time and got nothing done. I'll do the bandana last, because I have this tendency of touching the top of the head as a point of support. Yeah, gooseberries. So yeah, that was it's actually a poop joke on the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, that not being familiar with mooseberries, I managed to not get when I was a kid. But now you have. Now you know. So if you ever go back, and if you can, I don't know if they have old Rocky and Bullwinkle episodes or not, Jay Ward tends to be pretty protective. It's intellectual property, which is now in the hands of his family. Really? And that's the kind of thing that oftentimes happens, is when bringing the brush up to the work. Bloop, right there. I think that's part of the belt buckle. I'm not sure, though. Be covered over. Tape the buckle. That I had done that so well. I'd gotten that edge of the pouch just right. And then as I'm coming at the paint from the other direction, bump the brush right up against it. So I have to say that, you know, all of that can be fixed, but it's just pretty annoying. Things have gone better in the past than they are today. Looking up because it's hard to tell where the intended little brush isn't the best for filling in the space like this, but there isn't. There it is. This comes across the top here somehow. To the bandana, which is fine because that's that same color. The neckline here is just not real clear, so I'm just going to have to make something up. Just about all the edges are going to require some rework. And if that's the way this one is going, looks like there's supposed to be another belt with a buckle on it. Goes up here. Yeah, I hadn't seen that before. That's kind of weird. There's a strap along here. It wasn't really obvious before, but it seems to be there now. That flesh color covers this okay. There's just little spots of it here and there. But they're just, they're obvious enough that they'll need to be worked on. Okay, so what I'm going to be planning on is doing things like that, touching the point. Is what I'll be planning on is pulling out all the colors I've used so far and going around each of these models very carefully and touching up with each color. They all have marks on them. I think everything except the really dark color I used for the boots. So that'll just be a thing that I'll have to do is get one color out after the other and go around the entire figure. Like there, I managed to hit that with the brush somehow. Go around the entire figure and just do touching up. Okay, what have I got? These things on the arms here. And then the bandana. What I've usually found is that it looks like there's a lot of spots that need touch up. But when it comes time to actually do it, there are a lot of spots, but they tend to be really tiny, and it's just like the tiniest little drop of paint on the tip of the brush. Yeah. And some of them will be hard, like under the arm there, where there's a spot that just never got painted. In some places, I just got little spots of blue, like all over its hands. I'm not sure how I did that. But there are just spots all over that need to be despotted. So the order in which I'm going to do this is as I'm going around it and looking at what needs to be touched on. Is first I'm going to paint the metallic part. Well, no, actually first I'm going to do black on the hilt of the sword. Both of these figures, and I think the hilt of the dagger there. I'm just going to paint those black. I'm doing those first because those are in contact with the hands, and in some cases some other colors. So for some reason that goes badly. I'd have to be doing the skin color touch up as well. So I'm going to do those first. Those are the hilts of the swords and the daggers. And then I'm going to do the metallic buckles and highlights on the scabbards. Because if those go badly, you use the turquoise paint for that. And after all of that, then it won't much matter which order I use to do touch-up. So there's a spot there that was never painted in the first place. So yes, I'm going to be doing black on the hilts of the weapons. And then I'm going to be doing the metallic color. And then I'm going to... I can do the turquoise and the skin color and the dark gray and all those sorts of things, kind of in any order I need to. Okay, what have we got here? The bandana, yeah. On the back, section of armor here I haven't done. Piece of thing came off. Side of the brush. I'm going to actually have to dab that off because that's going to leave like a raised surface. So smudged it a little bit bigger than it was, but needed to do that to keep it from creating Okay, well, I just saw something I didn't see before. I have to decide what to do about this. As I'm painting this, what I'm seeing is that, unlike the other model, where it's pretty clear that the bandana across the top of the head this I need to take, so I'll be back in a bit. So sorry about that. Needed to take that phone call and deal with some business. It's been that kind of Monday. Anyway, I still have 45 minutes. There's maybe time to fix these things yet. So what I was saying was, what's happened here is that the other one was pretty clear that the bandana covered the top of their head. Here, it's pretty clear, now that I've painted it, that it doesn't, and that this is the hair here. So I think I really should fix that. Part of fixing it involves trying to remember what color it was, the hair. Oh, well, yeah, and there's other bits I need to fix first. I'm pretty sure that was this neutral gray color that I've been using. Actually, that will be the color that I will paint it, because it's pretty clear that this is not a over-the-top bandana, but it's more of a headband bandana. Anyway, sorry for the interruption. Needed to take care of some business, and now it's taken care of. At least it's started. It's not finished, but it's started. And yeah, there's a thing there that I didn't see before. So now, yeah, this is all going to be a little more work than it was before. That may not be finished today as I was hoping. Anyway, thanks for bearing with me today on Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Got only a half a day in because I had this morning that I had to have. And then had a phone call interruption because I had to deal with that. Just lots of unavoidable interruptions today. Okay, well, there's, bits of mess here and bits of mess there. But I'm going to just do one more circuit of this figure to make sure, because sometimes I just miss an entire piece. Just don't even just miss it entirely. Like I did on the other one, there was a whole section of the armor in the back that didn't get painted at all. Yeah, so what I'm going to do next is, what did I say, the belt buckle? No, the hilt. Getting out this black paint. Hilt. We'll do the metal buckles and the little embellishments on the scabbards. And then we'll start doing the touching up. Very Monday-ish. Let's stream today. Started late. Had interruptions. I see painting. The hilt on this is a little bit ragged, partially broken, but also partially because the blade never got printed properly. And because of that, it is now made out of a toothpick. And where the contact cement came, just a little bit blobby. Just exaggerate the hilt a little bit, and then we'll cover that up when I paint the blade later. So here's one of those, and just how far do you go kind of questions in terms of painting. These gray bags have drawstrings on them. You know, they're that detailed that the drawstrings are put on. And I can, technically I can get those. I'll just let the wash deal with it. You know, it's just one of those things that you just, like I said, how far do you go in terms of picking out different colors of detail? Just got black paint on there. And I think I answered the question by saying, just no, not for this kind of model, not just, I'm going to be washing it. And that will pick out the detail, I think, well enough. Got all over where the knife blade is. That's going to get painted a different color, so I'm not too worried about that. That will cover it nicely. Concerned about some here. Okay, well that'll do for that. Yeah. Now you want to use the metallic paints. Those tend to be a little runny. I'm going to see if I can, I'm going to do a real quick search and see if I can find the chainmail silver. And if I can't, then I'm just going to use one of the metallics. So bear with me. Since you've been bearing with me so well anyway, I'll continue to ask you bearing with me. Need to keep bearing with me. Even I was planning. Get it out. Things get kind of piled up here earlier. Well, I'm just going to use one of the metallics, I guess. Use dark aluminum. And I'm just going to be very careful with it. As careful as I've been with anything else that hasn't been very carefully done yet today. Okay. Here my target is just above the green thing here. Okay, so there's buckles on the belts. For some reason, there's a button there. I don't know why, but there is. This is a gigantic buckle. I'm not sure what they were going for here. It's kind of like cowboy buckles. You can make the buckle on your pants. You'd think it being bigger would make it easier to paint. You might think that. Would be wrong. And then there's like a little buckle on the latch here, in the pouch. And then on the scabbards, there's these little metal bands. What did we do today? We had a moose poop joke. I didn't get when I was a kid because I didn't know what mooseberries were, but now you do. You know that mooseberries are moose droppings. If any of you had seen like deer pellets, deer and rabbits leave like little pellets as their poop. You know, if you can imagine one of those pellets being like the size of a... That was badly done. It's almost like there's a double. I'm not sure. I might come back and repaint that with the blue. Anyway, if you've ever seen like deer pellets or even rabbit pellets, and if you can imagine those being the size of like a flattened golf ball, okay? That would be your mooseberry. Now on the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, they were depicted as berries on a bush because they were not depicted as moose droppings. They were depicted as berries because they were mooseberries. Which was the essential secret, not so much of a secret, I guess, because, you know, everybody who watched the show knew about it, but they were the essential ingredient in the rocket fuel that the Moonmen, Gidney, and Floy needed. Okay, well, this got a little messy, but since I'm going to be using the turquoise paint again anyway, I will do the essential touching up at that point. This is also going to be the color of the sword blade, but I'm going to wait for that until after I do these, because I got more of these buckles to do. Scabbard highlight things to paint. Scabbard only seems to have the metal across the top. No, there's another one, but it's here. Okay, well, that's as good as that's going to get. Into the blades. This is turning out to be a really busy week. I'm painting anyway, so in between relaxing painting there are all sorts of unrelaxing things happening, and I won't get into it, but yeah, anyway, hopefully the relaxing painting will stay relaxing. Just going to paint around the hilt with this little brush and then use a bigger brush to paint the rest of this blade. It's really pretty large and toothpicky. I've gotten to be quite experienced at fabricating replacement blades out of toothpicks. The first couple I did, I think, were actually the best. This sword isn't too bad. It looks pretty big, but I based it on the size of the scabbard, and the scabbard was pretty large. And the ones I did just prior to this, they were like rogues, sort of rogue-like characters, had daggers, and the daggers were very fine blades in the sense of being really thin, and I was not able to get the toothpick small enough and thin enough. And you can see that this is bending. I attached this with contact cement, and the contact cement never really gets hard. It holds, it's holding okay, but it's flexible, so this blade is now flexing. But it didn't break off, so the important thing is that it didn't break off. And so that important thing actually happened. Okay, so there's that. Now we get to decide what colors to do next. I'm going to paint this figure's hair gray, because as I said, when I did bandana and I painted the top of the head, it quickly became clear that it's just a headband, not a full head covering like the other one. Paint in the top of their hair. The hair is going to get hit with the same gray wash that everything else will. And so the texture of the hair is, when I wash it, I'm going to try to get the darker wash down into the crevices and leave the tops lighter. Those of you who are expert painters, and I know that there are some out there, I am not one of you. If this were a display model, you'd be putting this base coat on, and then you'd wash it to darken the dark areas, and then probably dry brush some highlights onto the hair. But I really, to be honest, I really just can't do that. Can't. Just not capable. I was capable of painting his beard. That's about it. Okay. So that's all there was of this color. What should I do next? I'm going to do the light blue next. That light blue is the color of the pants. Okay. There's spots all over the place, where the brush bumped it and things like that. There isn't very much of it. There's quite a lot on this figure. There isn't very much of it on the other one. But it's in some pretty important spots on the other one. I'm going to do that one first. I'm just looking at the knees first to make sure that those look, they look pretty okay. So the important parts are in the back here, where, see how the armor the lighter color goes under, and then there's a strap across there. And more importantly here is that isn't seeing the edge very well when I painted this. So the darker blue paint too far. That's better now. Over. Clean up the boundary between one armor type and the other. Okay, I'm not seeing anything real obvious anymore, so do this one. This one is pants. For sure there were some spots on the pants where I bumped it, but no, I'm not seeing it. Okay. Now let's see. What have I got? Something. Oh yeah, there was some of this dark gray, just a couple of spots of the dark gray. I'm going to do that real quickly. These are the pouches, and some of it's like a boundary issue where I, didn't get it quite right. And then others where there was just a touch of, like the paint just decided to be bad. And it jumped up onto the surface where I didn't want it. Some of these in spots that are hard to reach but fairly easy to see. I definitely wanted to fix that. This barn up here, and then I'll do the other one. This is where it starts getting into the good enough. Is it good enough? Like Boris was bad enough. This paint job is going to be just good enough. At least I hope so. It's always interesting to me, and a little bit annoying, that from one angle, the boundary between one surface and the other looks just fine as one paints it, and then rotate it a little bit, and it's obviously not. There's been many times when I've gone back and forth trying to reach the proper compromise. Okay, I need a little dot of paint right where the silver got on there. There we go. Okay, that looks much better. Now there's a whole lot of the turquoise, and then the flesh color too. Let me do the flesh color, skin color first. And then I'll do the turquoise. And after that, I'll be running out of time, so it looks like I'm just going to be able to finish the touching up here, which will leave the washing for Friday. And so I'll just remind all of our viewers that this is Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. If you like what you see or hear, if you're listening to it, become a follower, become a subscriber. If you really like what you see or hear, you are very welcome to go to patreon.com/diceanddungeons and become a patron. Patron will give you access to a bunch of features that are related to our Dungeons and Dragons campaign, including special warm-up sessions that you can only see if you are a patron. You know, becoming a follower or a subscriber is really, really helpful, and we very much appreciate your consideration of that. Relaxing Painting is scheduled for Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 until 2. And we've been keeping to that schedule actually really well, except for today. That's been one exception, when it got started late and interrupted midstream because of appointments and calls and other business that really needed to be done. It was not something that happens very often, but it did today. So thanks for bearing with us through all of that. That was much appreciated today. And yeah, so that's what Dice and Dungeons is about. And your support is always, always really welcome. Please tell your friends and acquaintances and relatives how relaxing it is and how painty it is. And please join us Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for Relaxing Painting. Wednesdays, at least at the moment, are Submarine Wednesdays, where I will continue to very slowly and deliberately work on my 1960s vintage. It's an authentic vintage model kit. My 1960s vintage Renwall cutaway submarine, George Washington nuclear-powered Poseidon. No, Polaris. Not even Poseidon wasn't even invented yet as an intercontinental ballistic submarine launched missile. And this was still the Polaris submarine. So I have retrieved on eBay several of these kits, and I'm creating one and very slowly but surely completing it. And I've gotten practically nowhere so far. But you can join on Submarine Wednesdays and watch me continue. Is there blue paint in this brush yet? Really still? I thought I cleaned it pretty thoroughly. Yeah, Submarine Wednesdays. Come and watch me make very, very slow progress on my Renwall George Washington Polaris launching. So far, I painted some torpedoes and glued them onto torpedo racks. I hope that they've stayed. I haven't checked them since last Wednesday. That will be an adventure to see. And then I'll be painting green stuff and trying to do some incredibly detailed work on clocks and dials and push buttons and things in the torpedo room. We're going to pretend that he has like tattoos or something. Yeah, this Wednesday, the continuing saga of Submarine Wednesdays, and we might even start seeing some things maybe even being assembled. We'll see. We'll see if I can get that far. I knew there's this big block under here. Yeah, you keep turning these models over, and you keep finding spots to paint. That's what Dice and Dungeons is all about. We are primarily a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that streams with live chat on Sundays at 2. You can also catch it on YouTube or as a podcast. I have to say it's quite entertaining, even though I am part of it. I'm not making it up. It is. It's kind of fun. Yeah, there's that. And just one more color of touch-up. There's quite a bit of this turquoise that needs touching up. Definitely need to clean the threads on this bottom. So please give that a try. I appreciate that. Yes, I will continue to be reminded that Submarine Wednesday is a good time to subscribe. And if the Medicinal Shy Guy are around on Wednesday, you'll probably be subjected to more substantial amounts of sub-puns. I'll let them do it. I won't. But today, I have to say, this is an excellent time to have learned about gooseberries. If nothing else was accomplished today, those who have watched this stream or who catch it later will have learned about mooseberries as they really exist, and also mooseberries as they existed in the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. So this little extra gap here that's appeared for no reason other than to be kind of an annoyance. It's kind of saying there's a lot of spots, all really tiny, where this turquoise paint needs to go. Moving way down in there, and I'm just not going to be able to get that. Some things just are not possible. I mean, they might be, but they're not possible for me. What I'm doing with this is I'm doing a lot of touch-up on the belts and bandanas, not bandanas, bandoliers kinds of things. And possibly the scabbards. The secret to success for some of these for me is I have these 2x lenses in front of my eyes, which allows me to see things pretty well, including all of the flaws. But the important thing is to not let anyone get very close to these figures. And so if they don't get very close to them, then they can't see what I see in terms of how it could have been improved. Yep. Touch up on this one as well. That's going to be kind of especially true of parts of the submarine model. The parts I'm working on is the detail part. The really difficult detail part is the forward bulkhead of the torpedo room, where the torpedo tube hatches are. And that, once the model is put together, is barely visible. I mean, seriously, it's stuck behind torpedo tubes and a bunch of other things, bunks and stuff. So you actually can just hardly even tell it's there. But it's got this amazing detail on it. There's a clock, which actually has not only the dial, but the 12 little, it doesn't have numbers, but it's got little pips around it where the 12 numbers are. It's got these dials, gauge faces, I guess they are. And those have little markings and pointer on them. And then there's junction boxes, electrical junction boxes all over the place. Electrical conduits that are attached to the front of the bulkhead. I mean, just amazing detail. And I'm actually going to try to paint a bunch of that, which will turn out to be, in reality, kind of a waste of time because it's not going to be visible, or most of it won't be visible, but I'll know it's there, and I will have made the effort to recognize the designer who put all of that effort into it. So I'm going to be spending a fair amount of time on Wednesday detail on that bulkhead, and it'll be kind of off and on during the stream because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be base coated green. The bulkheads and the metal part of the torpedo room itself are green, and it'll take 2 coats, I think, based on my test with the paint. And then I have to paint the sheets on the bunk beds. Challenge. So there's this combination of just getting paint onto very large surfaces and then making sure it looks even and smooth, and also a bunch of detail, some of which will be very obvious when the model's put together, some of which will be invisible. This edge is a little ragged in the back. So what I'm going to do, against my better judgment, is I'm going to get a little bit of that azure paint out again. I'm pretty sure the stuff that I have already out is dried. Maybe I can get some on the brush. It might be good. It's just the back of the belt here. Isn't even so much the location of the demarcation line as it is just making sure that it's even. Okay. I can be satisfied with that. He says as he puts, yeah, okay. Good. So, let me do the recap real quick here. We were late because I had an appointment. And then we were interrupted by a phone call. And in between all of that, I put light purple paint on all over these models. And now they are both base coated. Turn this way. They are now both base coated in, if not a perfect, but adequate fashion, and are ready to be detailed. And what I will be doing on Friday is I'll be using a brown wash on the skin areas, just real lightly on there, to kind of tone it down and to highlight things like the fingers and the face. Okay. And then I'm going to be using a dark gray wash and using that on everything. The hair, all three colors of the armor, even the bags. And I'm hoping that I can apply that in a way, we'll see, that keeps the base colors showing. It's okay, so you can still tell that they're the same base colors, but that they look more barbarian-y and not like they just picked up these clothes off the rack or from the dry cleaner. Okay, because that's what they look like now, is they look like they were. The camera's rotated. Yeah, so they look like they just picked them all up at the dry cleaner, and that's not very barbarian-y. So they're going to be much darker and muddier looking and things like that. But I think these base colors will work pretty well with the gray wash that I'm going to use on them. We'll see how that goes on Friday. And if it doesn't go very well, then we can just reprime them and start over. If it goes, if not well, adequately, then we will add 2 more figures to our collection of minifigs. Thanks for watching our abbreviated Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons today. Please join in on Submarine Wednesday. We will actually see some things being done on a submarine model, an authentic, truly vintage 1960s vintage George Washington Polaris launching cutaway submarine model. Thanks again. Thanks for joining in. We'll see you on Submarine Wednesday. Bye.